Yes, welcome, beloveds, to Satsang and meditation, and welcome to the friends around the world who are joining us tonight. It's a beautiful, still night. It's getting warm in Australia, probably getting cool in Europe. A new possibility to be present, totally, utterly present. When we look into the day or into our responses to situations or into our relationships or family, we have the tendency to get caught in a story. And of course we all love stories. We go to, we watch the cinema, we watch TV, we read newspaper, and they are all stories. In itself, that's totally fine. It becomes really challenging if we believe in my story. And unfortunately, many of us tend to believe more in my limiting story than my expansion story, which is usually called suffering. And then we will defend our suffering for dear life. Why? Because it gives us a sense of self. If I learned to be a victim, then I know who I am. I'm a victim. And when somebody kind of judges me or tells me, don't be a victim, I get really furious, because that's my identity. And then I get told, don't be who you are. It's a bit simplified how suffering is repeated and created. And then, of course, when we have a story of me, we have a story of you. And in relationship, when the honeymoon is over, the story of you in our own mind begins to have many flaws. And we think it's the other. Anybody has that? We think, you hurt me. You made me feel terrible. You want to play my mother, and you always want to comfort me, and I don't need your comfort. I mean, endless possibilities to suffer. And why do we do this? Because, one reason is that we, for dear life, do not want to touch a wound that may have been created many lives ago or many years ago in our childhood. We don't want to touch it because we have not learned from childhood that pain is part of life and that it's actually okay, and that it's a temporary emotional or even physical event that has a beginning, a peak, and an end. But if we derive a sense of self from it, then we have to repeat our story to recreate a false sense of self. Why do we do this? Because we are afraid of our inner emptiness. We are afraid that we may find what every awakened being finds. That you go within, deeper than your mind, deeper than the story, deeper than the identifications, and the sense of me as a separate object in existence disappears. and a greater sense of me appears, which is unfamiliar. It has no definition. It is spacious. It is empty. And what we overlook and really don't know, that it is the source of love. It may sound very strange that emptiness is the source of love. Joy. Emptiness is the source of joy. Emptiness is the source of presence. Emptiness is the source of beauty. Emptiness. I think I told this story before, but maybe I want to tell it again, since we are exploring Tantra. Many years ago, I visited a place called Khajuraho, and I visited a few times over the years. First time in 1971, and then in 75, and then in 79, and then even later. And in Khajuraho they have these beautiful temples depicted with incredible beautiful statues of human men and women in all sorts of daily activities, very beautiful, but also in deep lovemaking, in deep sexual union. And the tantric student, this is how I understand it, Osho explained it, very, very different than the guides that guide you through the temple. The guides tell you to become aware of your indulgent mind. But the reality is the student looks at the beautiful expressions of life in all its dimensions until any desire of possession or sexual desires or sensuous desires simply dissolve in the perception of beauty. And when the student is ready and there's no more craving, then he's allowed into the first chamber of the temple. And the first chamber of the temple carries only one statue, one symbol. It's not even a statue. The symbol is a Shiva Lingam. Shiva Lingam is the symbol of the male sexual organ, the lingam, the penis, erect, sitting beautifully in the center of yoni, the center of the vagina. And there's no face, there's no body, there's just these two symbols for these two different energies, the male energy and the female energy. And the students are asked to meditate on these two energies until they merge into each other within, until they recognize that there's a feminine part in every man and there's a masculine part in every woman, and the merging and melting of male and female is what is creating the experience of oneness. What at that point the student doesn't know is that these two energies are one inside. And when these two energies are one inside, when there's no more two, there's no more division, there's no more flow between the two. And when that is realized, then the student is allowed in the center of the temple. And that center is empty, there is nothing in there. So it's a beautiful transmission of self-recognition. And it gets totally misunderstood because in the world, obviously, most people stay on the periphery. They stay in the events of day-to-day life, which is depicted on the outside story. And some meditators who have discovered that they are maybe not the body and not the mind, but more aspects of energy, they are allowed in the first chamber. So to translate that into our situation, unfortunately we cannot all travel to Khajuraho, which I would love to do actually, again. No? It's a symbol for our inner unfolding. And our Soma has created a very beautiful quintessence for that. It's called Pallas Athene. Pallas Athene is the guardian goddess of the temple in Athens and ultimately the guardian goddess of all the temples. It's the guardian goddess of Athens. No? Pallas Athene, from that name came the name of the city, Athens. And she made sure that through the outer symbol of a temple, people become aware of a different type of temple, which is their own body. You may have heard this expression, your body is your temple. That the divine does not have any other form than yours. And that is not kind of hybris, that is true. If you recognize the absolute miracle of divine creation in nature, and then you look at a human being, that is the pinnacle of divine creation. Not how you think the body should look like, but exactly the way it looks. Not if you think the person should, improve, should be more intelligent or more beautiful or more compassionate or more wise or more of all these ideals that we are brought up with since childhood. There's all good intention, but every ideal creates a division in you. We explored that deeply in the counseling training. If I should be like this, I don't want to be the opposite. So I'm already divided because I'm the opposite also. And only if this and the opposite come together, we realize a deeper place within. So Pallas Athene is kind of bringing light into that, remembering that this body is not who you are, it's carrying you for a certain time. But the real you doesn't come and go like the body. The real you is presence. The real you is love. The real you is joy, is aliveness, is peace. That's who you are. Before the form, before the body, during the form, and after the form, when the body goes. You, and that may sound strange to you, but you don't die, because you were never born. Now, I say that so easily, but I tell you, I've been struggling with this idea for many years, especially after Osho died, after he left his body, and he left on his samadhi the saying, never born, never died. Only visited this planet from then and then to then and then. And my personality structure was very much reacting. I said, that's a nonsense. Of course he was born. Of course he died. I don't see him anymore. So I was mixing up the body with the formless being. And until we rediscover our formless essence and abide there more and more and more, we will again and again be pulled back into identification. And for that, to discover that, to learn that, our enemies are more helpful than our friends. No? Because our friends, they kind of forgive you easily, they love you, they support you. No? But our enemies point us to exactly these places within that have not been welcomed back in your own divinity. And then we project it on the so-called enemy and think this person or this group of people are terrible. And eventually we will see that even that is a projection that is just waiting to come back and being integrated in the spaciousness of our innermost being. And that's the place where all self-condemnation stops, all self-judgment stops, all beating yourself up stops, all guilt stops. The Christian Church has been master in creating guilty people. Why? And they can be controlled. If I'm a sinner, that very idea we are born in sin is unbelievable. If you really look into it, a divine being, a divine creation is supposed to be born in sin and has to repent the whole life and feel guilty when you want to make love. And strangely enough, so few people that are deeply embedded in the Christian faith recognize the absurdity of this. There's something many things are very beautiful in the Christian faith, but that's the danger of the church. It's like there's the real, the truth, and the false, the fantasy, the dream, the hope, the misunderstanding. The very idea of heaven and hell. What is heaven and hell? Hell is your negative mind. Heaven is your positive mind. That's it. Beyond heaven and hell, you are. So, I want to share with us tonight the quintessence Pallas Athene, and when you use it, and the people around the world, you can join me, even if you don't have the product of Arasoma. You imagine a beautiful light pink, beautifully aromatic essence that we guide ourselves through a little ritual with. And that essence is called Pallas Athene. So if you could stand up, make your left wrist available. You will receive 3 drops of Pallas Athene into your left wrist. And then you can rub your wrists together, close your eyes, and just feel into this vibration for a moment. The vibration of the holy temple, your whole body. Then you can raise your arms high above the head and imagine your arms turn into wings growing from the core of your spine to your fingertips. Wings of an angel or of a bird. And then you can begin to allow your wings to open and close above the crown, crossing over at the midline of the body and bringing the vibration of Palasathini into all the layers of your aura. It's almost like you're permeating everything of energy and form into holiness, into preciousness. Opening your wings around your third eye. In the opening, drawing aside the curtain of all our projections. In the embrace, embracing the reality as it is, so we can just see clearly what is without any projections. Then whatever we see is what we see, neither good nor bad, neither painful nor pleasant. And opening and closing your wings around the throat. In the opening, releasing all our beliefs, positive and negative beliefs, because reality is beyond belief. In the embrace, embracing that not knowing, that open channel of creativity, an open channel of expression where you actually access the highest intelligence, which is the spontaneous, creative response to now. And then opening your wings around the heart. Another curtain opening, the curtain of our ideals and shoulds and their shadows, all the should nots. And in the embrace, embracing your innocence, that innocent, open, compassionate, loving heart that we recognize in many, many young, very young children. And then let your wings rest over your heart for a moment. And feeling your heart respond to this vibration of Palasathini. And opening your wings around the solar plexus. In the opening, dropping all your defense strategies, all your armor, dropping all your weapons, all your shields, all your protections, and reconnecting with the joy of being an individual, being a unique expression and form of this infinite divine. And then opening and closing around the second chakra, the lower belly, opening to the wind and to the rain, all your so-called wounds, giving them to existence. And the embrace, feeling yourself embraced by the whole divine existence, holding you like a mother holding her vulnerable baby. And then opening your wings around the first chakra, the root center, opening to life itself, opening to your sexual energy. And in the embrace, embracing in tenderness this holy temple called the body. All along the legs, all the way down, until you connect with Mother Earth. And a good moment to let go now. A good moment to become totally empty. Empty of thought, empty of belief, empty of identity, empty of story. And now as you come up, you can unwind your wings around each other in a backward spiral. symbolically unwinding any residues of the holding fibers of the mind. For a moment, standing open with your wings. The celestial being that we are. Feet deep in the ground, wings in the sky. Then you can bring your palms together, your wrists close to your nostrils, taking 3 deep breaths of this fragrance into the temple of the body. Very good. And then we can bring the wrists a little closer, just getting a few more sniffs of your divinity. And then we can sit down. So today we will have a meditation before the sutras from Tilopa. And I want to dedicate the light of the candle today to the preciousness of this life in this body, to the preciousness of this amazing vehicle of our body. And then you can close your eyes. Taking a few deep conscious breaths. Deep in-breath and deep out-breath. Deep in-breath and deep out-breath. One more time, very deep in and out. And feel into your body, just feel how your body is sitting here. Feel into the different sensations, these places where the body touches the seat, the cushion, the floor, perhaps even where your clothes are touching the skin. You will notice as we become more present to the sensory experiences, we're also becoming more silent, more still. And in reality, when I say becoming, it's not the right way to say it, because really we are unveiling the stillness that is already inside, deeper than all movements. We are unveiling the peace that is already here inside. We are perhaps unveiling the subtle joy for no reason, like the joy of being. Each out-breath is like an expansion of the experience of this moment. And each out-breath is a letting go. Letting go inward. And of course the mind doesn't know what that means. Because when we let go inwards, we let go into the unknown. And mind itself is usually scared of the unknown. And yet each step we take, if we are really present, is a step into the unknown, into not knowing. No matter how hard we try, we will not be able to know what will happen in the next moments. And from the arising of peace and stillness, we can take courage and melt deeper. And perhaps we discover that just sitting here, nothing to do or undo. Everything happens by itself. The mind of our ego always believes it has to do something, go somewhere, become something. in that becoming we overlook that without any goal inside, we are naturally growing towards more and more perfection. Just because we don't do anything doesn't mean we are not unfolding more and more into the unique flower that we are. And perhaps as the space of being, this undefinable infinity, as we become more and more aware of that, perhaps our experience is that the light of our presence begins to shine through every pore. And it's often perceived by others as looking younger or radiant. If women would know and recognize this, who are so concerned about their beauty, they will find that outer beauty may to a certain extent fade, fade and fail. But when the inner beauty shines through, the outer becomes also more and more beautiful. Because our very essence is beauty. The light of our personality is a little dim. The light of our consciousness is as bright as the sun. Just feel your heart. Feel into the silence of the heart. Feel into the tenderness of the heart. Feel into the sacredness of the heart. Feel into the gratitude of the heart. Rest here for a while as each out-breath takes you infinitely deeper. deeper and deeper go in. No fear. All you can meet is who you are. From that depth inside, you can take a gentle and deeper breath. Feeling your body again until you find a good moment to open your eyes to a new moment here. Or you can keep them closed. And into that space that opened through the meditation, I want to continue with Tilopa's song of Mahamudra, the great cosmic union. The For me, it's the Bible, Tantra, the supreme understanding. It's such a precious report, precious commentary. Now, my own commentary on what Tilopa says are very, very limited. Osho takes much bigger space and much deeper wisdom. So I will recommend, if you want to actually dive deep into these sutras, listen to his discourses. They are available on oshoworld.com. So here we go. The Song of Mahamudra continues. In Mahamudra, all one's sins are burned. In Mahamudra, one is released from the prison of this world. This is the Dharma supreme torch. Those who disbelieve it are fools who ever wallow in misery and sorrow. So this is kind of like a sword that Tilopa hits on our identification with misery. In Mahamudra, all sins are burned. Sins are a construct of the mind. Sins are built on the illusion of what's the opposite of sinful? Virtue. Sins are built on the illusion of virtue, just like virtue is built on the illusion of sin. This idea of good and bad, we talked in many satsangs about it, that if we are staying on the level of good and bad, right and wrong, there is no freedom. But in Mahamudra, in the great cosmic union of everything, of male and female, of good and bad, of right and wrong, all sins are burned. What does that mean? They don't have anything that you have believed to be bad or wrong about you is simply seen in the light of consciousness as a complete illusion. In Mahamudra, one is released from the prison of this world. What is this world? This world is a creation of our mind. This world is a mirage. This world is a projection of our mind. What is. And then what we call the world is part of the isness of all things. It's not separate. So the prison of limitation, the prison of interpretation, the prison of judgment, the prison of division dissolves in Mahamudra, which means it dissolves in the infinite spaciousness of consciousness itself. This is the Dharma supreme torch. He calls it a torch because it's like light, and our mind is so used to look for shadow. But when Mahamudra looks, it is the same like when the sun looks. The sun itself, listen to this is very important, the sun itself has never seen a shadow. You need to be outside of the sun or looking at the side. When the sun comes from the front and you look from the side, you see the shadow. But when the sun itself looks, when the clarity of your own awareness looks, all shadows are gone. It is the Dharma supreme torch. It doesn't need a becoming, it doesn't need long kalpas of practice, it doesn't need anything. It is that possibility of suddenly waking up from the content to the container, and we are free. And those who disbelieve it are fools, who ever wallow in misery and sorrow. Now, how much are we attached to misery and sorrow? How much story we create about things so that we can be miserable? How much we recreate misery because it's familiar? How much we are attached to misery just because, excuse me, because in early childhood we were taught that something is wrong with us. And we believed it. So how those who disbelieve in the Dharma supreme torch are fools who will ever wallow in misery and sorrow. So in this context, of course, Buddha already said life is suffering, which is not quite a true translation, I would say. It's not life that is suffering. It's our interpretation of what is that is suffering. To strive for liberation, one should rely on a guru. That is a good one. What is a guru? Guru is, it can be a person, it can be a tree, it can be any living thing. In India or in many places around the world, guru is simply limited to the wise man who has recognized his true nature. What is the meaning of guru? Gu is darkness. Ru is light. That which takes us from gu, from darkness, to ru, to light. And if you're lucky enough to meet someone, or that someone, the master, meets and finds you, you are already in the tiger's mouth, the way Ramana Maharsha calls it. Our head is in the tiger's mouth when we have met the embodiment of presence, of consciousness, of nothingness. Then it's helpful to ask the tiger to bite, to just close its jaw, and the ego is finished. So to strive for liberation, one should rely on a guru. That is the way India and many places in the East have discovered, in a way, a fast track to inner liberation. To find someone who has recognized his own emptiness and who is not involved in recreating and redecorating his ego is more like a presence than a person. And as we are more presence than person, the presence in us begins to resonate with the presence of the Master. Often the symbol of the guru is depicted like there's the flame of the guru and the flame of the disciple. And the flame of the disciple is not yet lit, but as the disciple comes closer to the Master, there comes a moment, just like in physics, when a lit candle and an unlit candle come closer and closer and closer. Eventually the unlit candle simply starts burning also. This is the function of the Master. This is where our inner flame of consciousness begins to suddenly resonate with the infinity of the Master. And that's often called liberation or enlightenment or awakening. When your mind receives his blessing, emancipation is at hand. When the Master blesses you, when we follow our mind, our becoming mind, it is not the Master blessing us, it is conditioning and karma blessing us, repeating the wheel of life and death forever. Samsara. When the Master blesses us, we become aware of the center. We become aware that we are not a person, that we are a presence. It took me so many years to realize that very simple truth that I heard Osho say so many times. I am not a person. And my mind that is connected to my person sees him as a person. But it's true. Seeing Osho over the years, he actually even physically became more and more transparent. And he kept saying, I'm not a person, I'm a presence. And today I can say, I'm much more a presence than a person. I'm still a person also. Probably as long as we are inhabiting this beautiful body, the person is a beautiful expression of the infinite. The body is an expression of the infinite. But we begin to recognize our, what Tilopa calls, emancipation. And then he says something that also has been misunderstood for a long time. He says, alas, all things in this world are meaningless. They are but sorrow's seeds. Small teachings lead to acts. One should only follow teachings that are great. So, in this way we could say Tantra and Tilopa and his teachings, they believe in sudden awakening. And simply realizing, oh my God, I have been looking at reality through the mind and have projected my mind on everything that I see, on everything that I meet, on everyone, on every situation. And I have given meaning and interpretation to all these mirages. Yet, when I am not, everything else becomes meaningless also. It is only our mind that gives a certain meaning to things. And the more we go deeper into it, you remember as a kid, you don't need to have a meaning to watch a beautiful flower. You don't know the name of the flower, you don't know the plant species or anything that science finds later. But you experience the flower directly, and there is joy. No? Small teachings lead to act. So small teachings mean there's a gradual purification of your body-mind through therapy, through meditation, through compassionate actions, which is very beautiful. But there are small teachings that kind of tell you, like the 10 Commandments or the 30,000 rules in Buddhism, how you should live your life and how you should practice compassion and altruism. It's beautiful, but sudden awakening to the truth of who you are carry with it something that the unawakened person doesn't know, that the virtues are inherent in our being, in our formless being. Because if we are not formless, we are seeds of compassion, we are seeds of love, we are seeds of peace, we are seeds of joy. So small teachings lead to acts, so you can practice. One should only follow teachings that are great. Why is that so intelligent? Because it's actually not time enough to heal every single wound that we have experienced, maybe in childhood, maybe even earlier, maybe in past lives. And for example, small teachings are therapy. It's not bad, it's wonderful. I've been a therapist for many years, helping people to realign the feng shui of their psyche. But really it makes mainly the layers of our conditioning and of our mind and of our upbringing more transparent, so that we can see our true nature as brilliant, bright light of consciousness.
Am I allowed to ask a question now?
Yes.
I was just going to say that as you're sitting with a master in the Buddha field, isn't essentially the Buddha field doing that work, which you could call therapy, but it is actually a ripening of sitting with the master that then apparently leads to the sudden awakening?
Yes.
It's like an absorption that happens.
Yes.
So really you are following the small teachings, it's just work being done without any consciousness that you're working.
If you see it like this, yes. But
it's just the actual sitting with no effort that really will achieve all that any therapy would ever do.
Yes.
You might want to repeat what she's saying.
Selma has a question, actually more a statement or a recognition what the function of a Buddha field is, and that the seeker, how I understand what you're saying, that the seeker is actually still following small teachings until the great teaching is transmitted through the Buddha field. No? So, yes, absolutely. And yet it is, how to say this, that was kind of Osho's incredible wisdom, to bring small teachings and the great teaching together by helping to create the commune, helping to, with his discourses every evening and every morning. But one thing where, of course, it's interpretation. We're all trying to interpret what he's saying. Who knows what he really meant? But how I understand it is, you see, many therapists, really good therapists, famous therapists in the West, they realized that what they were doing by supporting people's psyche and by supporting the, more insights into how their mind functions, brought them somehow to a wall. They couldn't go further. And only in meeting the master, the guru, the one that has transcended his own personality, something happened to them, not to everybody. So this is how I understand Tilopa. One should only follow great teachings, because it's like a transmission. It's a transmission that doesn't work through the mind. It's like poor old Krishnamurti, apparently, I don't know this is more like what Osho talked about. Krishnamurti, very many intellectual people went to him, even though he was much more than his intellect. But the intellectual people were hooked on the intellect and made a small teaching out of the great teaching. So this is how I understand that all things in the world are meaningless, they are but sorrow seeds. Small teachings lead to acts. One should only follow teachings that are great. Again, it can be very much misunderstood because action is what's happening. As long as we are in the body-mind, body acts, body-mind acts. But when there's nobody separate from the act, like in Zen when they say, okay, what happened to you before enlightenment? I was acting, I was chopping wood and carrying water from the well. But what happens after enlightenment? Well, I was chopping wood and carrying water from the well, but there was nobody doing it. It all happened through me. Which is a very subtle difference, but it makes all the difference. Because then more and more, or less and less, we identify with the story that appears in the mind. The stories still appear. They may get less, but it's like entertainment. It's like watching a TV show. My mind spits out this in certain circumstances. But that which is aware is recognized as an underlying presence, consciousness. No? Does that make sense? Yeah. So we can actually open this to other questions or comments if there's anyone out there.
There's a comment from Maria Paz.
Yeah.
And she's echoing what you're saying. She says, why great teachings? Actually, because there's not enough time to heal all the wounds.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raja.
There's not enough time to heal all the wounds because we believe in the reality of wounds. And this is we've been experimenting. I just finished a counseling training, and the counseling from the heart, I call it, is actually penetrating an experience of, we have issues, endless stories, but when we move from the head to the experience, to the physical, emotional experience, and then we don't escape from that, but enter it within, deeper and deeper and deeper, then that deepening reveals everything we are looking for. And I love this work, if we call it work, because it is so miraculous and it's so simple. All its need is not going away from any experience, but penetrating it. And somehow in that penetration, it's like light shines in deeper and deeper places that are hidden. And then the strange thing is that even the deepest darkness turns into light. I still don't know how it works. But it works. It's amazing. And I see it as a great hope for humanity. Especially these days. I mean, meditation. Why meditation? Osho has talked about meditation so much. And in our time now, where the whole world is full of panic with this COVID-19 and so many stories around COVID-19 and so many conspiracy theories, and everyone has the same or a different opinion about the whole thing. And even here in our beautiful Malembimbi, where so many people are meditating and enjoying a deeper wisdom, the whole place is divided because there's vaxxers and anti-vaxxers, and neither of that is seen for what it is, as a projection of the mind. No? Yes, COVID is most probably a virus that can make you sick. That's true. But the story around it is unbelievable. So here it's very helpful to move deeper than the good and bad and the right and wrong and whether we want a vaccine or not a vaccine. And the invention of the mind, what it could do, it's fascinating. But it brings the whole of humanity, how I see it, to such a level of impossibility, a level of fear, a level of helplessness, a level of hopelessness, that hopefully many souls are penetrating that suffering and wake up to something that is way beyond the limited lifespan of a physical existence. I don't know if it will happen or not, but there's a dream of it.
I've got a question from Dr. Emily.
Emily, yes, question.
By great teachings, does it mean emptiness? What are the great teachings?
Maybe the rest didn't hear the question. Well, the question was, what is the great teaching? Does it mean emptiness? If we make emptiness a thing, it's not what it means. If emptiness is a realization of your true essence, yes, that's a great teaching. If you recognize that you are that which is aware of all experience, that is a great teaching. That doesn't need any addition. It doesn't need any becoming. It doesn't need anything that, what he says, small teachings lead to acts. So then we try to act and try to become more aware instead of recognizing that I am already that which is aware of all experience. So if I'm aware of all experience in Tilopa's words become meaningless in the perspective of who we are, because we are that which is aware. It is almost like great teachings is the recognition that we are the sky and the clouds come and go. We are awareness and the experiences and states come and go. That's the great teaching. It's so much easier than working on every little story of our poor, conditioned mind, isn't it, Emily? I love it that this is actually in the realm of Tantra. So far, all the sutras from Tilopa, we haven't even touched what is usually, related to Tantra, which is our sexual energy, because the great teaching takes us beyond the transformation of energy, but it includes, of course, the transformation of energy. And the sexual energy is kind of the only vital energy we have that has the potential to refine itself. So, Tantra from that level, if we include the sexual Tantra, which is a very beautiful journey for couples and for singles, it could still be seen as a small teaching if we learn many practices. It could be seen as a great teaching as we allow in our partnership the sexual energy to be part of the isness of every moment. then the isness of every moment begins to transform the basic energies of body, of sex, into sensitivity, into joy, into compassion and love, into prayer, into awareness. So it sounds like a becoming, and yet it is an unfolding of being. I don't know if that makes sense, but this is what comes to me right now. Maybe we sit with that for a little bit. Just a few more minutes falling into this moment here, with all its experiences held and embraced in the now. I want to read the sutra one more time into this silence. So listen to it not from your mind, listen to it from your whole being. In Mahamudra, all one's sins are burned. In Mahamudra, one is released from the prison of this world. This is the Dharma's supreme torch. Those who disbelieve it are fools who ever wallow in misery and sorrow. To strive for liberation, one should rely on a guru. When your mind receives his blessings, emancipation is at hand. Alas, all things in this world are meaningless. They are but sorrow's seeds. Small teachings lead to acts. One should only follow teachings that are great. Thank you.
This is a thank you from Mikhail
Karlholm, Mickey.
He says, Beloved Rahasya, thank you for your unending giving of the great teaching to us all. Love to everyone. Peace.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Love to everyone.
And Maria has posted the link to your Tantra.
Oh, that's great. So if you're still online, there is a beautiful link for a Tantra introduction that is broadcasted by my Swedish friends. So please follow that link. It would be lovely to see you on that Zoom course. Have a wonderful rest of the evening.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
We forgot, we changed the clocks an hour.
Ah.
So people came in at 8 o'clock. So just tell them.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to tell that we here in Australia, we are 1 hour later suddenly, from one day to the other. It wasn't a small teaching, it wasn't a becoming, it was a sudden hit from winter time to summertime. So we are already 1 hour later. And if you came in late, I'm sorry, the good thing it was recorded. So you have to rewind the recording and listen to it if you want to. My apologies, I forgot. Thank you. All the best. Have a wonderful evening. And there will be another satsang next Friday. And also soon the Tantra teaching will be coming. So stay tuned.